Isn't that the best part?
It's fun. It keeps it lively. It's like you
I
don't get
think
bored.
so.
Certainly, yeah.
We crack each other up.
Indeed.
Well, hi there. It's WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, the #1 internet singles talk network and community for people navigating the world of singles.
Yes.
Like you and I, Barry.
Indeed.
So this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
And
back for another topic.
I know. So today we're talking about where are all the great single people? Oh, the best single people. Well,
same thing. So yeah.
It's so funny. I was thinking about this topic, once we picked it, and how many times I have women say, "Where are all the good men?" And the good guys I talk to as I'm coaching, they go, "We're everywhere."
Exactly. Well, the thing is funny because I was in a club. I've been in a clubhouse a lot using the app.
Yeah.
I was in a room earlier, and I was listening to these people. They were just bitching and complaining about how they'd get hit on the wrong way and everything else. And it's like blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, they should listen to our show today. They might get some value from it.
It's very challenging,
Yeah.
And I don't hear men just aren't complainy kind of people. We women are much more free about our complaining about stuff. I can say that since I'm one. I'm not
going to argue with that.
I know better. Of you. And so the first thing I thought of, and I know it's where you live too, is when you think about the kind of person that you want to date and maybe ultimately end up with as a future partner, first you have to say, are you that? Mm-hmm. Are you all those things that you're looking for in another person?
Right.
Because I do hear people say, I know I'm broken, but I want somebody that's either okay with my brokenness or wants to fix my brokenness, Ooh. Which are two really big subjects right there. I know.
Yeah, I'm like ooh.
I need to make a face about that one.
Well, yeah, because having seen the memes that go around, it's like, find someone's going to help you unpack your bags. It's like, no, do your own work.
Yes. That's really essential.
Yeah.
Now, we're all flawed human beings. In my woo-woo world, we wouldn't be coming back into this human form if we were perfect. So we have flaws, mm-hmm. Perfectly acceptable. But, as I've said in the past, when I looked at mine a long time ago and I said, oh my God, it's a whole U-Haul truck full of baggage, that I needed to get it down into a suitcase size that would fit in the overhead bin of an airplane, not even check luggage.
Right.
That's how I met my late husband, because I culled it. I worked through it. I examined my old beliefs and my old way of thinking about men and my old way of interacting with people and my way of thinking about myself and the critical ways I thought about myself and the judgmental ways and the ways that I could turn that around. And I became a much more whole person, and I met a very whole person because of that.
Oh, yeah. So, it's funny because in a way, this topic is the inverse of looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
Which I've talked about before in my videos and everything too. And the thing is that just to put the other side of the coin, the other side of the topic on the table, this is going to make several years for me. And I think I shared this. I'm sure I shared this before in our show or not. I talked about when I first started doing the personal growth work. Way back when. I had a how to say this? I had an experience in a seminar basically that somebody called me the White Knight, and it was situational, so it made real sense. But the thing is, I had just bought about 3 months prior my second ever new car, which was a white Toyota Supra. It's back in the 80s when the Supras were really cool, classy cars. Well, they were actually until the 90s too. And my friend saw the car and said, "Oh, it's a perfect match for you. And you're White Knight, you got a white car, so perfect steed." Well, what I didn't realize I'd be put out to the universe was that being a White Knight, I've got to start saving women with damsels in distress. That was my hero journey. And so I kept attracting women who were in need of saving, or they would seek me out to save them, energetically speaking.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm trying to think how many years span it was in between. It was for a few years, I definitely didn't realize I was doing that. Like, I didn't know that I was putting that out to the universe. And so at one point, some standing beside me said, notice your license plate, because I put white knight in the license plate. That was the mistake, by the way. Being called the white knight and a white card is one thing. But when you put a badge on the front of it, a sign saying white knight, it's like, here I am, come find me.
Let me rescue you.
Yeah.
How much trouble are you in?
And the funny thing was, hey, Jim, good to have you back again.
Hi, Jim.
The thing was that I got clear at a certain point. I won't say exactly how it happened, what was up to it, but I got really clear I was done with it. I couldn't do this anymore. So I said, you know what? I am complete. I'm not going to be the white knight. I'm taking it off the table. I'm not going to be saving damsel in distress. 2 weeks later, my car got stolen with the license plate on it.
Wow.
Well, actually, let me qualify that. I said after that, I need to get rid of the license plate. As soon as I had to get clear about that. So Spirit said, I'll take care of that for you. Whang, car was gone.
Not at all what you had in mind.
No, but it got me really clear to understand is be careful what I ask for, because it's going to happen. And not necessarily the way I expect it to.
Often not the way you expect it to happen.
Which speaks to this topic about, where are all the best people. I know we're going to talk about this much further down the road. But it's like, if you're looking for someone to unpack your baggage, you won't meet somebody who is above that. You're going to find someone who's going to jump in the pit with you, which may be good, may be bad. And as you said, when you did the inner work, you found a person who was an equal to that. It's like having clarity about what you want and being clear in your message to the universe, you tend to get that back.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I tease that God's a guy. I think he's a guy. I mean, I'm really into goddesses and stuff too, but I'm in my little world, I think he's a guy, which works out really well because men really want to make us happy, us ladies. Mm-hmm. And you want us to be really clear about what would make us happy. So initially I discovered that what I was saying is, gosh, I'm only familiar with men like my ex-husband and my dad. So send those to me because I'll be really comfortable. But I didn't realize that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So when I realized, oh, yeah, those are the men that I was most familiar with. I was comfortable being with men like that. In my world, that was really who the significant, intimate people in my life were. Well, maybe I need to broaden my scope about what I can have, because I certainly had seen and worked with lots of men that were different and went, oh, I could have that too. Oh, so I had to change that mindset. And so I said, okay, send this kind of person down. They were like, okay. And I tell people the very next men that showed up did not have that really significant trait. They just didn't. Yeah. And they never did since then. So I know it's very powerful. However it works, whether you're sending a list of what you want to God, it really does work when you change your belief, when you build yourself up, when you fill up the places that you think you need another person to fill. Right. The other person needs to be a bonus. They need to make you happier, but you need to be happy and satisfied and content. If that's what you think you want in a relationship, then you need to work on that yourself. I knew you would so nod about that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the sense that in a way you almost have not have to, but to attract the relationship you want, you've got to be that you want to attract, which you talked about too, is like how you attracted your late husband was to be in that space that became the magnet for him. Yeah. Not obviously not to be exactly the same. You don't want to be a mirror of the person or whatever it is, but you want to have those things in traits. So if you want to be with somebody who has got their life on working out well, then do the same for yourself. If you want a partner who's going to have a playful spirit and joyful things, don't be the boring one. Wait for them to show up. Do something about it. Have fun. Live your life. Enjoy it.
Yes. Yes, it's so true. Because sadly, as anybody that listens regularly knows, that I was only married for 5 years when my husband died suddenly, and he would say, gosh, I wish we'd met sooner, not knowing he was going to die in 5 years. Right. And I said, I have to tell you, hon, I would not have been attracted to you. You were not my type then. You were not my emotional type. It wasn't my physical type either, which was also really a new adjustment for me to change the physical type.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, whoever you are. I'm glad you think what we're saying is exactly.
They need to log into StreamYard, I guess, to get their name to show up, I believe. That's the trick. So, So happens anyway. So continue.
But I said I was really clear that I hadn't done this internal work, this internal growth, that I wouldn't have been attracted to him. I wouldn't have felt I qualified. I wouldn't have known to appreciate these things about him that turned out to be terrific for me.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the interesting thing also, is that when we do start doing the inner work, whatever that work is, whether it's with a therapist, counselor, coach like ourselves, or through seminars or books or different personal journeys, is that our perspective shifts, but also what is our attracting vibration shifts too.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about this before. I know I've talked about this before. That I've been immersed, interesting word. I've been invested and studied and transformed my own life through the personal growth journey since the mid '80s. So I've been inspired for a long time. And so when I've met people, because I'm necessarily been attracted to them, because this is the key thing, when I've met women who might be physically attractive, but they haven't done any work on themselves, so they don't have, for example, ownership language, like they always like say, you should do this and you should do this, versus like, I need to, or whatever that is. It's so starkly clear that that's not going to be attractive to me, because the physical appearance, and this is a slight detour, we talked about this before about physical attraction, is physical attraction is only a temporary thing. It's like you got to go deeper than that to have that lasting connection.
Yeah.
And so it is something I had to adjust to in a way, because initially I was loving the work I was doing, but I'm realizing I was actually separating myself from more and more of the population, because the more work I was doing, the smaller my dating pools become. And I remember hearing the seminar, this is years ago now, said just to be aware, the more you do this journey of the internal reflection and growth and evolution, the smaller your dating pool is going to get, because the less people you're going to be attracted to.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm actually okay with that now, because now I know what I want and know who I am, because it is about being that person you want to be with.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and as you said, we're very imperfect. We're human beings having a human experience, spiritual beings having a human experience in my language, meaning that we may be perfect in the divine, but in the human form, we have stuff, we have challenges, we have imperfect behaviors and imperfect ways of being. So as much as I don't know this work, I'm nowhere near perfect. I know that very clearly, but I know enough to know that I handle myself. So,
Hi,
Frank, now we know.
Yes, Mr. Reith. So many good points you made, because it's funny when you talked about the dating pool. When I'm coaching my clients, if they, thank you, so glad you're enjoying it. If you're getting a big bunch of people writing on your profile, and sometimes they'll say, 90% of them are scammers, or 80% of them are so wrong for me. And I look at their profile when we first start working together, and it's not very specific. It's too general. So I said, so if you're going to go fishing for a certain kind of person, certain kind of fish, you need to get really clear about the bait that you're putting out there. So if you're saying, oh, I can't coach everybody, I so am clear about that. I don't coach everybody. I don't coach everybody's everything that they have. I have people I can refer them to. But when I first started, it was kind of a little bit of a thing that I really thought, well, I could do that. And I was like, no, that's not really what my gift is. And it's not what I'm best at. And it's not what I want to keep exercising and honing. So what I find is when I get their profile more geared to, this is who I am, really, truly. And they're like, should I talk about that? Like, I have one, she raises quail. She said, should I put that in? I know. I put that in my profile. I said, yes. Because even if the guy doesn't care anything about quails, if he likes the rest of your profile, he'll think, well, isn't that a unique, interesting thing? And it gives him something he could ask about, and that he knows you're kind of adventuresome. And wow, somebody that wants to raise exotic animals, since I'm a cat person. But how fun is that?
Right.
And so when I do that, and then you're really specific about what you want from the other person. I mean, my husband said he felt like he'd filled out an order form, and when I showed up, he was like, oh yeah, she's asking, I'm that, and oh, that's what I'm looking for, that. I mean, he truly said that on our very first meeting. So I find that they go, well, less people are writing to me and less people are answering me, because you're being more specific. But aren't the people that are writing more your time? Yeah, they are. I said, well, good. It's a better use of your time.
Yep.
And you don't get so discouraged, because you're like, oh, these are potential people, which is how I felt when I adjusted my thinking and got my luggage down smaller, that those traits that were hard for me and that I would never have made a committed relationship with them stop showing up.
Yeah.
So often I go, well, partly, and it is where you go, but it's also who you're bringing. Who are you bringing when you go there? Who are you taking with you? What are the traits that you're saying, thinking, acting? Because, oh my gosh, if this is what's showing up out here, it's a reflection if it's over and over and over.
So I want to put an analogy on the table, which is kind of scientific a little bit, but it should make sense if I explain it. Is that I remember this, we did this once, it was a long time ago. We had this thing where we had flashlights that had different colored filters you put on the front.
Uh-huh.
And so when you put different colored filters on the front, certain things would show up, certain things wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, if you don't have any criteria, you have a wide floodlight of a flashlight shining on everything and everybody can be seen, which sounds like, oh, abundance. Like, not necessarily. It's actually very, well, for one thing, it's overwhelming, but secondly, ideally, you want to be in a relationship with just one person. So you want to have some specificity and some criteria. So when they're refining their dating profile or their criteria or whatever it is they're using to choose with, it's like putting a filter over the front of the flashlight. So only those people in the crowd stand out to match the color of that lens.
Yes.
So it's that sense that you can be more effective in finding what you want by getting more effective about who you're being. So basically, I'm just sort of reiterating what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
But that thing is in the profile. I've been noticing, this happened a lot about the last couple of years in the dating apps, because I'm on the dating apps. Well, a lot of them are saying, like, if you support Trump, don't reach out to me type thing. So sometimes it's that blatant, and sometimes it's the thing about putting down your age criteria, what you're looking for. So that the dating apps are interesting because the criteria they make as your front and center choices are usually like distance and height, and age ranges, like the major criteria.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, well, yeah, but if you're a vegetarian, do you want to date someone who's not? Or if you're someone who loves skydiving, you want to be somebody who's never been up in a plane. It's like finding what's really true for you, and making that your criteria. I've jumped out of a plane once. I'm not planning to do it again, but I've done it once.
But good
But
for
it's
you,
like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, but if somebody's done that, it's like, then we got something to compare notes on. Not saying we have to go do it again. I mean, I'm not averse to it, but I've done it enough. Done it once, and that was the experience. I was like, okay, that's off my bucket list.
Yes. And, you said it. I've told people, okay.
They're talking to each other, okay.
So that people say, well, but it limits the people. I go, but how many do you want? Do you really only want one person? I mean, I'm into monogamy. Most people are. There are a variety of other ways to have relationships. But for me personally, I'm a one-man gal, like them to feel the same way, one gal guy. And so this is good if you're limiting to the pick of the people for you.
Right.
That's certainly the way to start. So you start with who you are. Are you what you're going to ask for? I mean, when you write down your traits and your attributes and your strengths and your idiosyncrasies and foibles, because we all have those too.
Indeed.
And then when you put down who you want, is there enough of a match? And certainly in the real core areas.
Absolutely.
As you gave some great examples. So I think that that's really essential that we always start with us. And it's really helpful to go, well, it's not showing up. So what can I do? It's a very empowering way to feel that you feel like, well, if I have control of the wrong people showing up for me, sad, boo-hoo, I might have control over the right people showing up. Yay. I mean,
Exactly.
How terrific is that? I mean, you really feel like, well, I really can do something about this.
And it really comes back to the fact that it's because the topic talking about is where are all the best single people? Well, it's like when you find out who you really are and what you're looking from, then you can be clear about what you're looking for. And that's the thing. So as I was saying with the flashlight metaphor, it's like the reality is they're everywhere. However, they're mixed into a big crowd. So you've got to get reselected to be able to see the ones you want to be with.
Yes. Yes, very much. And so then the next step is the more clear about who you are. What kinds of things are you passionate about? What kinds of things would you do for free for hours? What kind of people in general do you like spending time with? What kind of conversations do you like? What kind of physical activities do you like? The more clear you are about that, then the more clear you're going to be about the other person. And then the next phase will be, we'll talk about, well, where are they and where can you go looking for them?
Right.
As we've said, and people say, truly, they're everywhere. And I've had people meet in the most obtuse ways when they've gotten clear about this.
Oh, yeah.
They've gotten very clear about who they are and what they want and what they're looking for, and put themselves out there in that way. With your interesting example of your car getting stolen, it really is that blatant.
At times it is, yeah.
Wow.
I've been clear with Spirit to be a little bit less expensive next time.
It's a very expensive lesson. Oh my.
So the thing is also, there was a piece that I was going to say is also, like, for me, one of the things is I'm clear that I want somebody who does the same sort of things I do. So I make sure that I'm doing those activities more often, so that way the chance of showing up in those spaces is much easier.
Yeah.
Because say, like, you want to be with someone who's going to climb mountains with you, but you never climb mountains. You know, it's like you might or let's try another example, not quite so extreme. If, for example, you love animals, and I know you go play with horses a lot. Maybe you want to be with someone who also plays with horses, so that when you go there, you're in the vibration. First of all, you're in your joy and in your love. By the way, these are qualities to make you more attractive. That's your clue. But secondly, you might meet somebody in that environment or similar environments, or maybe at the store afterwards, and somebody knows the clothes you're wearing is like you've been around horses, and they go, "Oh, you've been around horses. I love that too." So it's like having the awareness of the fact that what you're doing is your primary subjects, topics, things you play in. It gives you the place to be attractive in, because you're being fully engaged with what you love doing. So that changes your visibility to people around you. I mean, I've noticed before, when I see people, if you see someone who's passionate about what they're doing, loving what they're doing, they're usually lit up. They're usually more attractive because they're so in their joy.
Yeah.
So finding someone who's in their joy in something you love doing as well is the ideal. That's where you'll find the right person.
Yes. And then you get to do it together.
Yes.
Yes. And when you're doing the thing that makes you happy and you run into people that it makes them happy, it's such a, people are, the big word right now, the buzzword in dating is, I want to meet somebody organically. Okay. You don't mean in the produce section, I think, even though I did have a couple meet that way.
Yeah.
Because I told him, ask her for a suggestion. Because he'd seen this woman a couple of times at the grocery store. So I said, next time you see her, you ask her for a suggestion for like a menu or something, or a recipe. And so he did, and she stayed and talked to him, and they ended up having coffee and liking each other. Oh, I know. So when I tease about the lettuce counter, I go, it really can happen. When you're off doing something you're passionate about, and there's somebody else passionate, it feels more organic, because you're getting to talk about something besides what's your sign and do you like Chinese food and Mel Brooks movies, and that's sort of the kind of conversations people without our coaching generally have when they're using the dating apps.
It is. So there's more to the picture, certainly.
Yeah, it's more rich and full, and you feel like you get to know them in this organic way. And it seems to make people feel comfortable to use that word. So I'm happy using it, even though I roll my eyes. So Cece says it's time to go off to the commercials that show you all the other great hosts there are on goingsolomedia.com. So we'll be back shortly.
See you in a minute.
Bye. We're back. Let's talk dating with Christine and Barry. I had to unmute.
Yes, we have to do that because we'll be discreet during the commercials.
Yes. I was apparently being noisy. Go figure. Christine being noisy. What a shock.
Yes. So, in the topic today, discussing about where all the best people or the what do you call it, the greatest people
Yes.
to date.
Single people. Yep. We're the
single people. Yes.
Yep.
That's the other thing. You want to be clear. They want single. I went through a phase. Definitely was very attracted to women who weren't single. That wasn't a good move for me. Didn't do, just to be clear, transparent. I didn't do anything about it. But as everyone I met attractive, if I look at them, I notice, oh, there's a ring on their finger. It's like they're going. That's the thing. And by the way, that's one of the things about women as a clue is, and it's true for men too. These women I really got clearly after studying them for a moment, is that they were so in their happiness and their joy being in love in a relationship, it made them very attractive.
Yeah.
So ladies, when you're single, embody the same thing to be noticed, to be transparent. I mean, it's true for us men too. The fact we can be, and that's the thing I know for us men, it's true for both genders. I have to say this because, again, back to that white knight spirit I had, I was also aware there were a lot of women I was meeting who were extremely needy and desperate energy. Now, we men do the same thing, so I'm not saying it's one gender or the other, but if you're not in a relationship and you want to be in a relationship and you're coming from a place of need and desperation, it's not attractive. So despite it not being effective, it's also not attractive. So really the best way to be single and ready for a relationship is to be so fulfilled that you don't need one.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic, I know. But the reality is when you are in your joy doing what you love doing and being inquiring with somebody else, first of all, you're not threatening them with any sort of like hooks or like attachments to them. But secondly, you become more attractive.
Mm-hmm. It's really true. And it's funny when you talked about having married people look so happy. When I had my event management company and a third of my business was weddings, brides complained about that all the time. You know, that when they got there and they're wearing an engagement ring, it's very obvious. There's this big rock on their finger. Men would be coming out of the woodwork to flirt with them. And I said, for me, was way before I was a coach, but my observation had been, one, you look safe. So maybe guys are practicing. And two, you look damn happy.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to hang around with happy people? I mean, you're just glowing. They would be glowing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I said, this is why. And neither reason were they going to do anything about, but it made a lot of sense. So if you think, as you said, if you can embody it, you know, what is it that's going to make you feel happy before the relationship? Because, oh yeah, all those chemicals that happen when you're newly excited and having all that sexual tension. Oh my gosh. I mean, that just oozes out your pores. How do you keep yourself feeling a lot of those feelings when you're not in a relationship?
Yeah.
So primed. You're primed for the relationship.
Yeah. So what fills you? What fuels you? What inspires you in your life?
Yes.
That isn't your relationship because you're not in one, but also makes you more available to one. So that's the thing I know from my own work. I've been with my clients, especially, and I took this in my own coaching. Is like my work's so much about the self relationship, which is really the key. Is the more that they fill up their own battery, their own fuel tank, so to speak, first, they become more magnetic because they're showing up so much light filled in the world, so joyful, so attractive.
Yeah. And for the people that listen, aren't those the people you want to hang out with? I mean, you walk into a room and there's somebody laughing or having a good time or, you know, strutting across the room and you're like, oh, wow, I want to go talk to them. Catchy, you know, or wow, I want to have my energy be part of their energy. Well, the more you concentrate on the things that bring you joy and the things that you're passionate about and the things that fill up your battery, the more you're going to come across that way to the world.
Yes.
I find too that the more I feel that way, the more I feel that way. Like the more sad I am, the more sad I am. The more excited I am, the more excited I am. So if you can figure out what can I do on a daily basis, even just one thing, which I would like to just 5 things that, like when they used to have that gratitude journal and you had to write at the end of the day and we had to actually start paying attention. What am I grateful for? Because I'm going to have to write in that damn book tonight, those 3 things. I better be thinking about what are the things I'm grateful for, because it can't just be I woke up every day. That just gets boring.
And
So
the,
you pay it.
excuse me, the damn book.
It got to feeling that way. Yeah, I did. It's like, this is a lot of pressure. 3 things at the end of the day. It was
Actually, it's
so
not meant to be
funny.
not to be homework.
It did feel like homework. I know. Did you know I swear sometimes? We know I talk about sex a lot, but
No,
did
never expected that.
swear?
No.
So when you are concentrating on adding in things that make you happy, fill you up, bring you joy, you feel passionate about, you'll just start feeling more of that, and you'll attract people who are feeling that way. I mean, I have found it every time. And one of the analogies I give is like a sponge. A dry sponge will not pick up anything. It won't. You can put it on stuff and it just sits there. So you have to dampen it first. You have to get it going and get it pliable. Then it'll clean up anything. And you can't even pick up water really well with a dry sponge because it's too brittle. So keep yourself lubricated in your passions about life, in your experiences about life, in your learning. What new thing do you want to learn, or something you want to learn more about, even when it's my damn college course that drives me crazy? Because I love part of it and hate part of it. It's been the bane of my existence. We only have 3 more weeks. I'm really ready for it to be done. I know.
Tell me how you really feel.
How do I really feel about college class? And they said, would you like to sign up for summer? And I went, hell no. I'll be back in the fall. I need a break. How do I really feel about this college class? I thought, whose idea was this? And why did I sign up for this? It's been kind of a crazy ride.
Yes. Anyway, back on topic.
Which is kind of this, because there's both sides. I mean, really, even at the end of the day of mucking stalls and cleaning horses and walking around in the arena, sweating buckets, I'm tired and feel icky. My body feels icky, but my spirit is soaring because it was so wonderful. So yeah, there might be some downsides too. So, okay, fine. But if there's more up than down, then go do that thing. That was the point of all of that. I always have to use lots of words. That's true.
Yes,
that's part of it.
I understand.
I come with this warning label. Christine used lots of words. So maybe we should talk about the places to go meet people now that you've built yourself up and you're feeling really happy and you're ready for a great relationship and you want to go spread your passions and you want to go start meeting people. And certainly, the dating apps is the biggest pool of single people, and it's not for everybody, and it can't be your only source. I just think it's important to be diverse in your investments, right? In your portfolio of dating.
Although during this past year, because of everyone stuck at home, it was hard to get out and do social things. So the dating apps became the default for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But now it's opening up again. Remember, it's not the only way to do it.
Yes. And we got a little dependent on Zoom, which was helpful, at least, that you had a chance to talk to real people like this. It wasn't just emailing or just on the phone.
Right.
So with that in mind, Meetup. Oh my gosh. I think meetup.com is like the Nordstrom of parties. Nordstrom of finding your people. Nordstrom of finding your people. I mean, it's the high class, big mamu, everywhere you could be, you will find your people doing the things that you're interested in. I mean, if you like a certain kind of dog, if you like cross stitching, if you like baking sourdough bread like you do, if you like hiking, walking, biking. I told you there was this group I wasn't part of it, but somebody, because I'm always asking, well, what other meetups are you part of when I'm at a meetup? They had season passes to Disneyland, and they would just go on. Who's going to be there on Wednesday, or who's going to be there on Saturday? And that way you weren't going by yourself, and you were with these people that had already been part of this group. They didn't feel like strangers, and it was often 4 or 5 people, and they had a blast. I thought that was such a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you're talking about meetup, and I'm going, I haven't been on meetup in so long. It's like, ooh, something I need to do differently. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome. And so you put in what you're interested in and see if there's one in your area. And if there's not, then put something that's totally different then, that you've never thought of. Let's go take an archery meetup, or let's go do something that has a cooking class. And I don't know how to cook, but who knows? And the thing about cooking classes is you get paired up with somebody, usually the opposite sex. But that's classes. But we'll go back to meetup.
Yes, yes.
You can start a meetup, because I have my Monday night meetup that I've been doing since June, and it was effortless. They make it really easy to start up a meetup. And if you're interested, probably other people are in your area. So yeah, I think meetup is great. And what's really cool is, see, the way that we used to meet people in the single world was in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You know, we all went to the same sporting event, or we went to the same grocery store, or then we went to the same college, or we worked in the same office. So you got to see people interacting with somebody else. You got to see their attitudes. You got to see them maybe when they hadn't had enough sleep. So you saw a lot of their moods over time. And then you felt safe, and you felt like it was a more gentle way of having a conversation with them. That's what meetups are like. And for the women, who I do understand, we like running in packs, we don't like going new places alone, take a friend. I've even had a married friend go with me because they needed a night out. And I said, I'd love to have company to go to this new thing. And then once you're there, you meet people, so they don't need to be your wing person the next time, unless they want to come back. But then what you do when you're there is you ask the people there, what other meetups are you part of? Because, oh my God, some people were part of like 30 different meetups of things I'd never thought of doing. And I could go look those up. And the cool thing is, too, you can see who the members are, what other things they're members of. You can see what the ratio generally of past meetups of men or women, you know, as they're kind of even, if that's what you're looking for. And it's been a great resource, super duper resource. So you might look into that, Mr. Barry.
I might expand my horizons. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. So the other thing is classes. Classes, you learn a language. Dance classes are even better, because for sure
I was going to say that's I've definitely been a friend of mine. She doesn't do it anymore. She used to run Argentine tango classes near me, which actually was something I loved, because it was a great teaching tool for my work anyway. Because about the way that men and women work together best and not. But the thing is, it was great because I met some people in those classes, and it's interesting because the same. I want to say one thing, just as a caveat over the whole thing, is that yes, meetups are great. Doing other things, the grocery stores are great. Dance classes are great too. But remember the energy you bring, both as the recipient and as the protagonist. I'll put it that way, as in the man versus the woman. Just because I watched it happen when I was on one of the tango classes. I watched men be so excited they're dancing with a female partner that they would almost go. It almost be like presuming they're already in a relationship. It's like, no, you still got to go through the steps. So for men, it's important for us to still approach with respect, with humility, with inquiry, because it's always good to listen and ask questions, and with interest, so you don't presume anything up front. I said before in the dating conversation how I always believe we should go with the people meetup should go on a pre-date. During the COVID times, it'd be like a virtual, either a video like FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, to meet that way. But in normal times, which we're hopefully getting back to, I'd always suggest if you want to go out with somebody, go on a pre-date where you go somewhere like daytime socially, where it's public and it's cheap. So it's like coffee or ice cream, something fun like that. You go for a walk, and then you can decide after that if you want to go on a real date, so to speak. And then you can up the ante by dressing up, going in the evening to a restaurant and all that stuff. So it's about really being like doing the steps, so to speak, like taking the steps to get to know somebody. And so being in these environments where it is so much fun because you meet some of the opposite sex, don't leap ahead.
Yes. And one of the things some of the dancing instructors, when I've taken lessons, were really good about, and some of them not so much, is take a moment to introduce yourself. I mean, it's such a wonderful icebreaker. It's such a wonderful way of showing you have manners, both people. I'm not just saying this for men, in a way that, however people feel about shaking hands or bumping elbows now. But before, we would shake hands. And it was, I always wanted, like, how do I feel about touching you before? I mean, because the tango is, it's one of my favorites because it's so sensual and it's very body contact. So it was nice to shake somebody's hand before they were going to hold me. So I appreciated that a man was open to doing that and was made a point of doing that. It felt very chivalrous, actually.
It was, on being the side of it, I definitely enjoyed that process. And also with tango, because Argentine tango is a social dance, meaning that it's not couples only, so to speak. For most
No.
people, even though some people do that, same to do with other dance moves too. But in Argentine tango, basically you keep changing partners.
Yeah.
So that you get to meet lots of different people of the
Uh-huh.
opposite sex, which is fun.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the thing about Argentine tango is it doesn't hold back the truth in terms of how you are with somebody. We can do a whole show just on that alone, just for how we embody ourselves as masculine and feminine. But anyway.
I kept thinking, there is so much about the whole male-female dynamic going on in this dance. Oh my gosh. And I wrote, Christine, you have to pay attention where your feet are. But I was like, I kept thinking that so much. Oh, it's very much a microcosm of how we deal with each other.
Exactly.
You know, it's in sync, in unison, and the giving and receiving and the flow. Oh yeah. And then it's funny because I'd be with somebody who, the criteria, yes, if they're a good dancer or not. And then did I feel comfortable having them hold me or not? And it was like,
right.
Oh, I wanted to stay with that one longer. Oh, I'm really glad this one's over. On the other side.
Yes, indeed. But also the other thing is, and since we're going to this road anyway, I was like, okay, we'll keep talking. I was just, I don't want to go in too deep because it's like we could spend the rest of the show talking about Argentine tango. But the thing about it, which was great for me, was understanding about how it's important to be the masculine partner, to hold the space, to create the structure, to be the frame holder, so that my partner would be comfortable. Because I was in dancing time, I would dance with women who kept trying to dominate the dance.
I know.
They were in the masculine too much. So it's like, that wasn't working. Or there were men that would dance with women who they would tell me after, because we get changing partners. They say, like, that guy, I had to lead him around because he wouldn't take charge. He wouldn't take control. It's like, that explains so much too. So
yeah.
So for those people watching, if you want to know where you are in the paradigm of being in your true authentic nature, masculine or feminine, Argentine tango is one of the quickest ways to discover how good you are at it.
Yes. Yes. Because the man is always the leader, but you have to have the right amount of resistance or he can't lead you. I mean, it was the one I learned the most about that. So many of the others were just how you held your body, but this one was where the tension was and how you had that perfect amount. Oh, yeah, it is such a cool dance. Makes me all excited.
Indeed, yes.
Brings back lots of fun memories.
So
other kinds of classes of other things you can do. Yeah. Look into places that
pottery classes.
Yeah.
Because so many community colleges, once they reopen again, have so many great handicraft type things that are more hands-on. Because it's not just about, and I mean, even things like spoken word or poetry. Or, I mean, music's pushing it a little bit for those sort of things, but doing things that are more hands-on, that are more fun and spontaneous are great ways to explore things too. Because first of all, you might discover a new hobby, but secondly, in the fun of playing, you get to meet other people in that exploratory new things. Like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that for me is the best way to meet somebody, because you're both new at something.
Yes.
And so there's a sense of adventure that you're on together.
Yes. And you're both not good at it at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Laugh about. Oh my God. And keeping the laughter going is important. So the third thing that I suggest to people is volunteering. I mean, if you have something that speaks to your heart, you have a giving heart already, and you find a cause. When you're there, you're going to find people who feel the same way. So one of my widow fella guys met his very now serious, significant person at a food bank. They were packing lunches and boxes and chatting for a couple of months, just chatting. How are you doing, with masks and everything during COVID?
Yep.
But the food bank was still open because people really needed the food, and they could even chat, across the table because that was 6 feet. And finally he said, okay, I'm going to ask her for coffee. And they went out for coffee, and they have been so happy because it turned out they both love camping like crazy people. They like camping as much as I don't like camping. That's how much they like camping, which is a lot. So isn't that the weirdest place you would ever think to meet somebody that you'd want to go out with? And yet it makes sense because
it's not weird to me, but yes, I understand.
You have this cause.
Yes.
You both have a cause celeb that's your thing. Go there, do it. And part of what I would do is I was always seek out women too, to say, well, what other things do you belong to? Or, gosh, do you like, going to the movies? I'll have somebody to go to the movies with, because we ladies, guy, it's so funny. The whole study about that, where women sit together and men always have a seat in between. It's so funny to watch it happen. But then when you say, oh, they're probably not with anybody, or they would have brought somebody. So like, ooh, maybe we should ask them what they thought of the movie after, or what made you come to the movie. You know me, I'll talk to anybody anywhere. So that's how you can get people to go do other things. It's like, so like if you're taking a dance class, oftentimes after the class, they have open dancing. So you get a chance to go back and talk to the people that you might have had some energy about, and ask them, do they take other dance classes, or
Right.
do they know places that offer open dancing? Which is what I found, was there were like some clubs that, on certain nights they had salsa or they had tango, and you could go have another time to practice away from the school. So that's what's helpful too, about getting a chance to just visit with people who have your similar interests.
And it's the thing, I mean, I know we're talking a lot more about post-lockdown experience, because that's the thing, I mean, I think we're talking about, we did a lot before. And that's the thing, is that what happened this past year was a blip, I would say. I mean, we're going to look back at this point in 6 months, a year, or 2 years' time, to look back and go, that was an interesting hiccup along the journey. So what we're talking about is stuff that may not be immediately available now. Dance classes aren't really readily available just yet, but they're coming. I know that where we are now in LA and Orange County just got to the yellow tier, so that's the least restrictive restriction.
Yeah.
We're not fully open yet, but we're getting close. Indoor gatherings are starting to become okay. So once we do get back to normal, post-event, post-apocalypse, post-challenge, to do social things like this is great. I mean, one of the things that I remember going with groups, we go to the animal shelters, and we go help out. I mean, it can be pretty gross work cleaning out the stalls or whatever, but you get to hang out with the animals for a start. And like some of the animal shelters with the dogs and cats, you can fall in love with the animals regardless of the people. But when you're there, you meet people who are in the same energies. Like, you're not, because some people love other people who are animal lovers too. So being an animal lover is a good way to be too. So doing things that touch your own heart in volunteering are absolutely one of the best ways to go meet people, because you're in your heart when you go in there.
Yeah. And I have a client that she's been volunteering at a cat shelter, and her job is to go play with the new kitties, to get them socialized.
Oh dear.
I know. Twist my arm to go do that job. It's a good thing she has two, because she'd be bringing home 10. And she's really clear about, this is her job to help them find a home.
Yeah.
And so, once a week, it just fills up her heart. She's just having the best time. And she's also an artist, so she takes pictures of the kitties, and then she can paint pictures of them later.
Nice.
But what a fun job to do, right? So you don't even have to clean stuff if you don't want to. You can just volunteer to play. Because they need people that play.
And maybe you want to join a cycling club, for example, just if you're going physical stuff, or go hiking together with groups. And the other part also is that some of this stuff is like, I mean, I go out by riding all the time, but I don't belong to any clubs. But I'm thinking, for a lot of people, if you want to meet somebody, find a social gathering that does things. Again, maybe through Meetup, maybe through other platforms, where you're going to find a group that does exercise together. Maybe they go running together, or they bike together, or they hike together. And who knows who you might meet in that group. So there's so many places you can meet the right person.
Yes.
Being set up for who you are.
And and one of the cool things about Meetup is they are pretty specific about, we're slow walkers, we're medium walkers, we're the balls out walkers. So we're going to run for 10 miles. You need to be part of, if you want to be part of this. But that way you don't have to do anything harder than you're capable of doing, and still find people to walk with. And what I find is, when I get ladies that'll go sign up for like the walking ones, most guys are pretty interested in slowing down and talking to them, because to them,
when you're not out of breath,
part of why they're there. They can exercise, but they also get to meet a lovely lady, right?
Yeah, I'd rather have my ability to talk and articulate versus being winded and puffing and huffing. So yeah, absolutely.
There you go. See, I knew guys felt that way.
Yes.
Besides, if there's some time when you're off on the thing that's got a little bit of like an elevation, and we want a strong arm to hold on to get over a rock or something, there's nothing bad about that. And I've had a couple people meet that way on walking, hiking groups, because there you are, you get a chance to talk about, kids or the scenery or hobbies, and you get to know each other in this organic way.
I love it.
Thank you. I think so too. Well, Cece says we have to go again.
I saw that. Yeah.
We have to stop talking about tango. Darn. We need to figure out a subject to talk about that gets tango in it again, though, because that was very fun.
I'll come up with one.
Okay. Yes, it's your turn this time.
Yes, it is.
If you would like more suggestions about places to go or how to unpack your baggage so that you'll stop attracting the wrong people. Oh, yeah, that's just such a big subject.
Yeah.
That might be our next one or something in the future. You can get in touch with either one of us. And the way that you get in touch with me is through my website, www.theperfectcatch.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter. You can also sign up to have a complimentary conversation with me. You can also reach me directly through my email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And I'm on all the social media of Facebook and Pinterest and LinkedIn and Instagram and YouTube. I got them all?
Yeah.
Very.
Five.
I
didn't want to count on screen, but yes, I was like 10 below, just checking.
You always keep me on track here.
Just here to serve.
So your turn.
Yes, my turn. So if you want to get in touch with me, on the same thing, basically. I mean, more about the baggage, release, unpack, and clear up type stuff is my strength. Focusing more and more on actually helping people fall in love with themselves so they can be more attracted to what they want in the world. So my website is my name, which is barryselby.com. And you can, on my website, find all my current offerings. And yes, my website is definitely dated. It needs to be majorly updated at some point. I'm going to redo it at some point soon. Hasn't happened yet, but it's still something I want to work on. But you can find everything you need very easily. It's right there across the navigation, including the Let's Chat, which is the first icon on the navigation bar, where we can sign up for a complimentary conversation with me. You can also drop me an email at barry@barryselby.com. And I'm on all social media, although it's not all consistent because of some changes that happened. So you can find me at Barry Selby on YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn. On Instagram, I'm at The Real Barry Selby. And on Facebook, it's barryselby.author. And also on Clubhouse, I'm at Barry Selby as well, in case you want to find me there.
Or the Love Doctor.
Well, the Love Doctor is a nickname over there. But if you find me by name, it's at Barry Selby. Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
Clubhouse puts your... No, because Clubhouse puts your nickname on top of it's like your real name becomes secondary for some reason. So anyway.
Yeah, see, so you really are the Love Doctor on Clubhouse.
I'm on Clubhouse a lot, yes.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. We're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. And this is Let's Talk About Dating. Look at it says that.
So let's talk dating. Let's talk about dating. Either way works.
We're going to talk.
Bottom line, dating is our conversation.
Yes, it is definitely our bailiwick, as they say, right?
Yes, or our wheelhouse, even. Yes.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah.
It's our jam.
Indeed, it is.
So we will see you next week. Bye for now.
Thank